welcome to this Pilates level 2-3 session. We are going to be using a resistance band today, so hopefully if you have a resistance band, go and grab it. Obviously if you don't have anything, that's fine. All these exercises you can do without the band. All right, we don't need it just for the beginning, so you can pop it down on the floor once you've finished. Before we start. Okay, so we're going to be starting on our feet. If you make sure that if you've got any injuries or any limitations of movement, that you obviously work within your own range of movement. Just please be careful. If anything causes you pain, stop, or just, as I say, keep your range of movement smaller, and I'll try and adapt where needed. And if you find one exercise is too difficult with the band, you can always do that exercise without the band, being that little bit easier. All right. So we're going to start with our alignment. So we're going to start with those feet slightly apart, with those toes facing forwards. We want those knees to be nice and soft, standing up tall, so shoulders back and down, and then making sure our head sits on top of our spine and we're growing tall through the crown of the head. We're going to take a little bit of breath into our ribs. So just starting with a nice deep breath in through your nose, let your ribs expand. And exhale lightly through your mouth, draw that rib cage in. So just do that a few times. 4 or 5 nice breaths in and out, just gently blowing out through a straw. And I want you to feel that little switch on into your abdominal wall as well. So as those ribs move in and out, we also want to switch on into our core, draw that belly button in, and work at about a 30% contraction with your abdominals. I want you to also think about pulling your pelvic floor muscles up at the same time you're drawing that belly in. And then when you've done a few, just placing your hands onto your hips, we're going to start to gently tilt that pelvis forwards and back. So small movements forwards and back, keeping the knees soft. Just remember that your pelvis is like a bucket filled with water. So we're tipping the water either out the front of the bucket here or out the back of the bucket here. Work within your own range of movements. If you know your back doesn't like one particular move, then obviously feel free not to do it or just to keep it smaller. Please be careful if you've got osteoporosis, stenosis, that you maybe keep that range of movement a little bit smaller. Okay. And then find neutral in between those two tilts where your hips are level. And as you slide your fingers in towards the front, they should hopefully meet in the middle. The weight's equal between those feet. So as you've come into that neutral position, just start to roll your shoulders back. So we're just taking those shoulders back and down. So nice shoulder rolls, just loosening up, mobilizing through our upper body. Couple more times, and we're going to let those shoulders relax. We're going to do 4 shoulder shrugs. Lift your shoulders up, gently release your shoulders down. Again, lift those shoulders up and release those shoulders down. As you move in the shoulders down, think about also moving them back, so you're getting that little switch on into your upper back, the shoulder blades moving closer together and moving down into the back pockets of your jeans. So you want the shoulders away from your ears, so you've got that gap. But you also want to stay nice and wide across the front of these collarbones. And then from there, I want you to move your chin back slightly, so as if you're going to give yourself a double chin, and turn your head to the right, come back to the centre, turn your head to the left. And then 3 more times each way. So turning to the right, back to the centre, turning to the left, and again back to the centre. So let's keep going. Keep the shoulders nice and still. And just get movement into that cervical spine. Obviously not forcing your head round if it doesn't want to go as far. It might go further on one side to do that. When you finish, come back to the centre, hands across the chest. So we're going to gently turn our head and chest to the right, back to the centre, to the left. 3 more times each way. So thinking about keeping your hips nice and still. But again, if you've got osteoporosis, stenosis or any facet joint problems, you might find that it's more comfortable to move your hips. So allow your hips to move if you need to. Come back to the centre when you finish, let your arms relax. We're going to move the fingers down the side of the thighs. I want you to give me a side bend down that right side, back up to the top and down the left. So think about that weight staying equal through your feet as you slide down each leg. Your hips staying in the center, your knees staying soft, and you're keeping that nice straight line as if you're between two planes of glass. And again, working within your own level. So again, if your back doesn't like this move, then you may find you just want to go halfway, not quite as far. So you keep that range of movement smaller. So let's just do one more down each side. So we're just getting some lateral flexion into our spine. Come back to the center, have a little pedal out through those feet. So pedal the feet, heels lifting, knees traveling forwards, toes staying on the floor. Hips are staying level, shoulders stay nicely relaxed away from those ears, and we're taking those heels down to the floor. So this time, can we rise up? Can we lift those heels up, lower those heels down? Can you add your arms? Can you take a breath in and lift? Exhale and lower. Let's think about keeping those ribs in as we lift the arms up and making sure we switch on into our abdomen. Think about that rib hip connection. So as you're lifting, we're not trying to let the ribs lift any higher. So we want to keep that rib hip connection. So after this one, let's do two more. And on the last one, we're going to hold at the top. So if you can, you're going to reach up, hold it there. Have a little circle of your hands and your wrists. A few times one way, a few times the other way. Stay on those toes if you can. And then gently release your arms, release your heels back down. Have a little pedal out just to loosen up. And then take the heels back down to the floor. So as you come back down, check that your feet are still about hip distance. And we're going to take it into squats. We're just going to do 8. So taking the arms forward. So take a breath in. Take it down into your squat. Exhale to lift back up. And again, take a breath in. Take a breath out. 6 more. So think about keeping that neutral spine as you squat. Keeping your chest lifted, looking forwards. 4 more. And making sure your knees stay apart. Tracking in line with your second toes. So we've got 2 more. And we're going to hold the last one. So as you come down, hold it there for me. Now as you hold your squat, keep your hips level, but lift your right arm a little bit higher. Bring it forwards, take your left arm a little bit higher. Do that 3 more times each arm. Try not to let your hips rise up as your arms lift. So these are a lot harder than they seem. Work into those shoulders. If it's too much, just keep your arms out in front and you'll feel it in your legs, maybe your glutes. So when you've come back with the hands, push up, roll the shoulders back, have a little shake out of those legs. Good. Let's bring our feet a little bit closer together now. Taking the right heel off the floor, and feel free to hold on to something if you need to. If you can lift your toes up and circle your foot. If you don't, that's fine. You can circle with your toe on the floor. So we're going to go one way and then change direction, go the other way. Okay, and then we're taking that foot down to the floor. We're taking the left heel off the floor. If possible, toes lift. Hips stay level. Circle your foot. So circle one way and circle the opposite way. Good. Take that foot down to the floor. Again, keep those feet narrow. This time, coming to a knee lift with your opposite arm. So you're going to rise up, arm in front, knee in front, opposite arm to leg, and just keep alternating. Thumbs pointing up towards the ceiling, palms facing in towards each other. Try not to lean back. So remember that switch on into your abdomen. Remember that rib hip connection. Knees don't need to come any higher than the hips. And if you're lower than that, that is completely fine. So we're going to do 1 more each side. And then come back. Take those feet to the floor. Have a little pedal out through those feet. Good. So I'm just going to grab a quick drink. If you want one, obviously feel free to grab one. We're going to be using our bands next. So make sure that you bend your legs to pick your band up if you're picking it up from the floor. Let's check that we're recording. Yes, we are. Good. So we're going to carry on a little bit more standing work with our band. Okay. So make sure that you've got your band. We're going to start with our feet back in alignment. So again, feet apart, toes pointing forwards, knees soft. Really checking that that weight is equal through both your feet, but also between the front and the back of the feet. The knees are soft, the abdominals are engaged, and again, we've found neutral. So with your band, can you hold on to it? Your hands about shoulder width apart. If you find this is too tough, your hands can go further out, which makes it easier, or closer in, which makes it harder. You probably want them only about shoulder width, if not wider. So I want you to really think about your rib-hip connection. Take your arms in front of you about chest height. Take a little stretch out with those arms and draw back in. Try not to pull with your neck. So don't push that chin forwards, keep it in. And really think about making sure that you're gently moving those hands out. You're keeping those abdominals engaged, and you're not putting pressure into the neck. If you're feeling it more in your neck, just take your hands a little bit wider, just to make it a little bit easier. So we're just moving those hands in and out with control while we keep the rest of our body still. So working into those arms, you'll feel it maybe working into your shoulders or that upper part of your back. And again, I want you to still switch on into your core, so we're working those core muscles. So we're going to do 4 more of these if possible, 4 more. So you should really feel those last ones really kicking in. And when you've done that 4th one, just let your arms just relax down and just roll your shoulders back. Just a couple of times, let your shoulders relax. Good. So from there, to give our upper body a little bit of a rest, we'll work on our lower body. We're going to move the band under the right foot into the right hand. So the ends of your band in your right hand. Now feel free that if you might need a wall or a chair, that you can use a wall or a chair to balance, to help with your balance. So we're going to bring the feet closer together and we're going to take the right foot off the floor. Now as we take that right foot off the floor, just pull on your band so you add a little bit more resistance and just see if you can keep that hand a bit higher. Again, your easier option is to keep your arm relaxed at this point. That might be enough resistance. So we're going to move the right leg out and then just come back in. We're going to do that 8 times. Push away and then control it as you come back in. Keep your hips level and forwards, and just check that your standing leg, again with your standing foot, your weight is equal through the foot. The hip and ankle pretty much stay in line so we're not leaning right over. Switching on into your core, so again remember that rib hip connection. And we're working into this leg and the glutes, the standing leg as well. And then when you've done 8, which I have lost count as I've done too much talking, so when you've done your 8, come back in, swap it over, place it under your left, into your left hand, feet close together. Take your left foot off the floor, and again, if you can, pull your hand up a bit higher, but it doesn't matter if you don't. And then give me 8 with this left leg out to the side. So we're taking it out nice and slowly. That's good. And just take your time. So again, remember, we're keeping the rest of the body nice and still. We're just moving that leg out, not swinging it out. So we're doing it with control. And then when you've finished, again, take the band off that foot. So move your feet back to being apart again. Find that alignment again. Come back to upper body. So this time, we're going to concentrate a little bit more into the triceps. So the back of the arms. So what I want you to do is I want you to hold one end of your band in your right hand, put the band behind you with the hand above the shoulder, and then take a hold of the band behind your back with your other hand. Now again, with your resistance, the higher up you go, the more resistance you have. The further down your hand is, the easier it is. It might be that that hand will not go up there. So if that's the case, that's fine. You can always then pull it down more to add more resistance. So if you pull on it, pull it down, it adds more resistance, or you hold it higher up, that adds more resistance. So that the hand behind you doesn't move, but this right hand does. Now remember the rib hip connection. So it's really important to make sure you don't do this, which can happen quite easily when you're moving your hand. So we're going to do 8 and we're going to push up. We're going to push up to the ceiling and then come back just above the shoulder. Now push that elbow out wide. Feel it in your arm. If you're not feeling it, grab that band and again, either go higher up with your hand or pull the band down. So now I can feel that a lot more because I'm pulling on my other hand, or I'm just taking that hand higher up. Okay, so again, try not to let that elbow drop. You will start to feel it hurtfully in those last few in the top of that arm. So when you've done 8, relax that arm down, swap it over. So hold it in your left hand. Take the band behind you. So we want elbow out. We want to hold onto that band either high up your back or lower down, but pull it down on the band. And again, knees are soft, rib hip connection, and we do 8. So again, we're moving that hand high and we're keeping that elbow out. Unfortunately, my ceiling is just a little bit low, so I can't fully take my hand as high as I normally would go. Keep your elbow out. Try not to let that elbow drop. And then when you've done your 8, just relax back down with those arms for a little bit. Good stuff. Okay, so this time we're going to stick with upper body, but we're going to take the band under the feet. Now, depending on how long your band is, if you find you've got quite a hard band, a tough resistance band, or it's not that long, you may find that only one foot needs to be on your band. Okay, if you're feeling strong, 2 feet on the band. Kind of level it up so that it's equal and that your feet are apart, and then hold the ends of your band. And again, if you've got a really easy band or it's really long, you can always wrap your hands around. So you can make every exercise easier or harder with your band. So upright row. Palms are facing inwards, close to your body. Shoulders back, chest lifted. Rib hip connection, knees soft. Neutral alignment. And we're doing 8 lifts. Upright rows. Push the elbows out and up. Keep that rib hip connection as you lift those arms. Don't let that hinge up forwards. Keep it in. Keep your alignment as you're moving those arms up and down. So remember, we're doing 8. You can alternate the arms if it's too much to do 2. So you can do 1 arm at a time for each side. No good with my counting today. Not that I ever am. And when you've done your 8, you can relax. And hopefully you should have felt that one. Now what I want you to do is just take your left foot off and keep it under your right foot. Come back into your right hand. Don't panic, you're probably thinking, oh, I've done so much standing work. We are going to sit down very shortly. This is our last one. So, bit of balance. We're going to take the right foot behind us, okay? Now, as you take your right foot behind you, this involves a little bit of balance. You're going to push the leg away and reach the arm back. Now, if possible, come to a knee lift as well. If that's too much, and again we're doing 8, then you can just come back into here. You don't have to add the knee lift. So we push away and then add the knee lift if you want to. Push away, add the knee lift if you want. So opposite arm reaches out in front as you slide the leg back. Keep your body in the centre. Keep those hips facing forward. Keep the weight equal through that standing foot. And keep a slight bend in that standing leg. Really switch on into your glutes as you push the leg away. And when you've done 8, Let's swap over. So let's do 8 on the other side. So under your left, into your left hand. So again, we take left foot back, and as we push the leg away, we reach the arm forwards. Then if you want to add the knee lift, you lift the knee, and again you push away. Now you can always add more resistance if you want more as you push away. And again, you can do this without a band. And again, you can do it without a knee lift. So the choice is yours. Remember that rib hip connection, so that again, we're switching on into those deep abdominal muscles. And again, when you've done 8, relax the foot, take the band off your foot. Have a little shake out of those legs and a little shoulder roll back. Okay, so need a drink, grab a drink. Keep your bands handy. We're going to sit down. I'm going to lower my camera a little bit as well. Now, if you normally sit on a yoga block, feel free to sit on it. Right. Because what you're going to do is you're going to have your legs out in front of you. So if you find that when you're sitting on the floor with your legs out, that you're in this rounded position and it's really difficult to sit up, it would suggest that you need something just underneath your bottom. And also if you've got any lower back issues, definitely place something underneath you. So even if you don't have a yoga block, it could be a cushion, a folded up blanket or towel, or even a big sturdy book. So what I want you to do is place this band behind your feet. Try to maybe, if possible, flatten out your band so that it doesn't go all tight to your feet. Now this is similar to the upright row that we did, and again we're just going to do 8. So I tend to find I hold my hands quite far down my band because I want quite a bit of resistance for this one, and I'm making sure that before we start I'm sat up tall. So we want a straight back, sitting up nice and tall, chest lifted, legs out in front, feet flexed, and then I'm going to gently pull on my band and draw my hands towards my ribs, but keep my elbows tucked in. So my elbows are moving backwards, but they're not moving outwards. And I don't lean back. So I'm going to draw that belly button in and draw those hands into the ribs. I'm going to open out across the chest, and I'm going to switch on into my upper back. So I'm going to really focus on visualizing those shoulder blades moving towards each other, but also moving down my back. So my shoulders are staying away from those ears. And again, you can make this harder or easier. So remember, the easier is your hands come further towards the end of your band, and harder if you go further towards your feet, or you can do it without. When you've done your 8, we're going to relax for a moment. So take your hands to the end of your band and then perhaps wrap around once or twice so you know you've got a nice tight grip. Now you will find this easier to come off whatever it is you're sat on. So sitting with your bottom on the floor, move your feet in. So you're going to move your feet in to start with bent legs. And we're going to sit up nice and tall. Now I am going to give you an alternative if you find that this is too much for your back, particularly if you've got any back issues. So we're going to walk the heels towards our body. We're going to keep the chest lifted, and we're going to see if we can hover the feet away from the floor. We're going to push the feet forwards, draw the knees in. Push the feet forwards, draw the knees in. Keep the chest lifted. Now I want you to give me between 8 and 10. But if you really struggle in your back, particularly if you've got any back issues at all, that you might want to do it on your back. Start with your knees towards your chest and then just push the feet up and slightly out. And with this one, this might be fine for your back, or it might be that it's still too much because you've got both feet lifted in the air. So if you've got any pelvic floor issues, or again, still back issues, we can do this one with one leg at a time. So maybe do 4 or 5 on just one leg, and then swap it over and give me 4 or 5 on the other leg. So just remember, you're working at your own level, and obviously you might still be doing it in that seated position. So again, just keep the chest lifted. So when you've done between your 8 and 10 of those, have a good rest. So just relax the feet to the floor. Just get rid of your band for a moment, and you might want a little stretch forward. So feel free just to stretch it out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come onto our side. Now, preferably, if you can use your band, we're going to take it around the thighs, not the knees, and then we're going to bring the legs together, and we're going to tie it in a knot. If you've got a booty band, you can use your booty band for this one, which will be easy because you can just slide it on. And if you prefer, you can do it without. If you've not got a band, that's fine. We can do this one without. So we're going to turn onto our side. We're going to do our clam exercises. Now, you can either lay out on your arm, cushion between your head and arm if you prefer. And if you've got any shoulder issues, take your arm out in front and make sure that you have a cushion under your head. Okay, so either arm in front or lay out on your arm. And we're on our side. So we want chest facing forwards, open out the chest, this hip facing up towards the ceiling. We want the knees in front. I want you to ideally keep your hips and your heels in line. As imagine that you are, you have your back and your feet pressing against the wall. So your bottom knee is going to stay on the floor, but just our top knee is going to lift up and down. We're going to do this 8 times. So push away. It's harder with a band than it is obviously without a band. So keep your feet together and just keep lifting and lowering that knee, that leg, without letting that bottom knee lift and without this hip rolling. So think about your hip staying still. So there's not any sort of rolling forwards or back, and your upper body is staying nice and still. So when you've done your 8, just have a little rest. So just let your knees come down for a moment. Have a little rub or a tap of that thigh. Okay, so this time we're going to bring feet together, legs out in front. We're going to keep that band around the thighs. Again, you will find that it is a bit more difficult when you've got the band tied up, but if you've got a booty band as well as a band, then perfect, you can use your booty band for certain ones. So think about legs nice and straight, toes pointing forwards, flexing those feet. Try and make your top leg a little bit longer than your bottom leg. Move that hip away. Create a little space between your waist and the floor. Draw in. Remember, we're engaging. So we want to keep the ribs in and we want to keep the upper body relaxed. So from here, we're going to lift the top leg, lower back down. So we're going to point, lift, flex, lower. Point, lift, flex, lower. Not too high with your leg, but just enough to feel the band kick in, so that if you've got that band around you, that you just feel it as you lift the leg. So it's not always slack. You've got tension in the band as you come up. Okay, if we do about 10 of these, so just take your time. Remember this hip staying still, so we're not letting it roll. And then when you've finished, when you've done your 10, just relax the leg and draw the knees back in. Now we're going to come onto our back from here. Your band is going to stay where it is. So lay yourself over. Move anything that's on your head under your head away. So your head is now on the floor. Make sure your band isn't around the back of your knees. So it's on your thighs. You can always tighten it up again if it feels like it's slackened or it's starting to give. So we want to set up for bridge. So heels in, feet hip distance apart, knees hip distance apart, toes pointing forwards, feet flat on the floor. We're going to do 8 bridge lifts, but at the top, we're going to move the knees out, okay? So we get tension in the band. So arms by your side, we're going to start to lift. Peel your bottom, peel your back away from the floor. As you push up, make sure you get those hips nice and high first, your ribs are down, squeeze your glutes, push out your knees, come back in, and slowly release down through your back, one vertebrae at a time. Okay, so we imprint, peel our back and bottom away, push the hips up, push out the knees, come back in line, squeeze your glutes, release down, one vertebrae at a time. So we've got 6 more. So again, imprint, lift, peel away, press the knees out, come back in, squeeze your glutes, take yourself back down to the floor. Release your bottom on the way down. So again, peel away, lift, press out the knees, come back in, squeeze your glutes, all the way back down. Excellent, 4 more. So keep going with those while I just check that we are still recording. Yes, we are, that's good. So just remember when you're lifting that your feet are staying on the floor. You want weight equal through your feet. And you want to make sure that when you're lifting those hips, your ribs are staying down. And you're making sure these glutes are switching on. They're not just completely relaxed. And if you find that's too much in your lower back to lift your hips high, just come to a half bridge, which might be enough, and you can still push those knees out. So just remember, work within your own range of movement. Keep that range of movement smaller if you need to. Okay, when you've finished, come down, draw those knees in towards your chest. So give your legs a little hug. You can always have a little rock from side to side if you need it. Okay, let's roll onto our side, make our way up, and let's come on to the other side of our body.